Greetings, hello and welcome everyone to the very first episode of the Misclick Podcast.
Woo!
Woo! Hey!
Yeah.
Half a year in the making, pretty much, and we're finally here.
It's been 84 years.
It feels like it,
isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I wonder how that makes sense, because I'm pretty sure I wasn't born back then. Must be a prophecy of some kind, I guess.
Or time travel. Something like that.
That
you know?
too. That seems to be popular in movies, at least. At least in the X-Men universe.
Oh yeah, that's right. Time travel was a thing.
Days of Future Past. That title alone should indicate something.
You know, you'd think I'd remember that, but yeah, I guess that just slipped from my mind.
Special thanks to Will over from 1,000 Owls here on YouTube for the intro theme, which the two of you described as, and I quote, metal as fuck.
Mm-hmm. That's accurate.
It is
Absolutely.
a pretty damn good theme.
It's badass.
It's super awesome.
I mean, I've listened to it a lot of times now because I had to time it with the intro and everything, and I'm still not tired of it.
I wouldn't
never
be
get
either,
tired
to
of
be
it.
honest. It's just one of those things that are just never gonna grow old.
Never grow old. There's a link to his channel in the description. Let's get the formalities out of the way first. I am your host, Cosmironic, and joining me are the two co-hosts, the fantastic Icewire and the one and only KrakkaCafe.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey. So if we begin with the ladies first, who are you, Icewire, and what do you do?
Okay, well, obviously, my name is Icewire, and I am basically a YouTuber from New Zealand, and I make a lot of just gaming content in general, just everything from Let's Plays, funny moments, to informative videos where basically if it's an upcoming game, I will break it down in a simple, for dummies sort of fashion. And that's pretty much what I do on my channel and everything.
Yeah, and those scripted videos you do seem to be pretty popular.
Surprisingly, I am quite proud of them, I will admit.
It's nice to put a lot of work into one video and just see it do very well.
Yeah. Especially if, like, you get a transition right and it's just nice and smooth, and then you just sit there watching it like, yes.
Yeah. That cat meme.
So yeah, that is pretty much me.
Do you stream occasionally?
Occasionally when I do have the time, but mostly I just make videos, because usually I'm way too busy making videos to get time to stream.
Yeah, you can't do everything, sadly.
Sadly.
Mm-mm.
So, KrakkaCafe, what do you do?
Yeah. My name's KrakkaCafe. You can just call me Krakka for short, because the cafe part's kind of like a little add-on there. Anyway, but I'm mostly, I guess, a Twitch streamer now because I got the affiliate thing, so it's pretty much
that's super exciting.
Fancy.
Congratulations.
yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm gonna be streaming now. But I do occasionally make vlogs on YouTube, and I'll be moving my streams over to YouTube manually, not live, unfortunately. And then I also very rarely I'll feel really possessed to suddenly make a video on something. That's only happened like I think twice in a year, so it's pretty. That doesn't happen usually. It's mostly just vlogs and streams. I stream 4 times a week, so I'm pretty active with that. And I'm bad at editing and lazy about it, so I don't like to do that. And I just like to just do things live. So that's just me.
Live is your game, yo.
Yep. I don't mind setting aside the time to do it instead of editing and whatnot. So that's why I prefer that.
Yeah, I remember that Soma video I helped you out with the editing, and that was like a huge problem, or not problem, project, a huge project.
Problem.
I mean, editing in and of itself was a problem for you, but
Yeah,
that's another story.
Yeah, but that was like my swan song video, man, that was my best video I ever made so far. And I spent like 2 weeks doing the silliest things, like just putting up some simple pictures. Like, I'm just so bad. But I was able to cobble together a kind of neat video that actually has like transitions and stuff. I was so proud of myself.
Yeah, fades.
It was a really good video.
Yeah, fades and had audio, and it was just great, man.
Oh, that's the best reaction. That's the best description of a video I've ever heard. I love it.
It had audio and everything. It was perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
Oh yeah. Glad to have you here. I am Cosmironic, as I mentioned before. I do occasionally make a video. I know, right?
I think you've made You made like 5 or 6 videos in the last
year.
Yeah, but your videos are ridiculously high quality when you make them.
That's true. They're really good.
Yeah, like they're worth waiting for by far. Mine, not so much.
If you say so. I mean, but I do plan to make a huge comeback with more videos. I mean, I have written a script now for the next one. So that's the thing. Now I'm just waiting to get some graphics from an artist that I have commissioned before I can set a sail with that project. But it should be pretty exciting.
Sounds good.
But mostly the kind of videos I do will be more in-depth talks about games, and in particular I will dive into like one specific game at a time and then talk long about one thing that game does particularly well. That's the kind of format I've settled on right now, but there might be an occasional review, maybe if I feel like it, or other types of gaming discussion. That's the plan anyway.
That sounds. Hey, at least like your videos look pretty damn good, high quality, whereas mine are just like throw in the occasional meme here and there. always. Basically, I'm meme trash. That's another side note about me.
I like to refer to you as Queen of the Memes.
Ah, the Khaleesi of the memes. That is me. That is me.
It suits you well.
Yeah. So that is the 3 of us. We are all good friends. I would like to say we are. I mean, you might disagree.
I agree.
No, I agree too.
That's good. And that's why it's extra cool to have you two join me on this podcast journey, because the 3 of us together are like very diverse, I like to say, because there's the one thing that I keep telling everyone around me when I have to describe this podcast is that it's the most international thing you could ever think of.
That is true. That is
Yeah,
true,
it really
actually.
is.
Considering we're like from all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. We are from the 3 corners of the world. We have Ice from New Zealand. We have Krakka from Florida.
No, Virginia.
Virginia,
USA.
close enough.
Close enough, yeah.
Close
I
enough.
guess the States anyway. And I am
Okay.
from Denmark, so that is why I have this funny accent.
Hot accent, you mean? Jeez.
If you say so, I don't know.
I guess it is to me because nobody here talks like you, but I guess when everybody talks like you, it's different.
Oh, absolutely. Oh god, I hate Danish with a passion. Other than that, I also think it's cool to have a podcast with us three, because we make 3 different kinds of content. Like,
That's true.
Krakka is only streaming pretty much, the occasional vlog here and there. Ice is doing VODs, Let's Plays, and the occasional stream. And I do all scripted content. So our creative outsets are also different, in a way, you could say.
So it's pretty much a kind of a vast rainbow of variety in a way.
Exactly. I mean, we have both genders represented too, and there's an age gap of 5 years between all of us, pretty much.
Alright, I forgot the smallest of the group.
I mean, the list just keeps on going.
Yeah. You realize we were so different. Crazy.
Yeah.
But despite our differences, we still come together for this podcast, so...
We did, and I'm so happy.
Yeah.
So, this will be a bi-weekly thing. So every second week we will upload a new podcast episode. The goal is to provide as much entertainment as possible and have discussions about video games, the industry, and everything in between. And also talk about YouTube and Twitch, VODs and streaming, because that's what we all do right here.
Sounds about right.
Sounds good.
Not every show will have the same format. Not every show will have the same segments, because we want to experiment a bit with what we put in each episode. And we also want to create variety to the audience and to ourselves, so we don't like run tired in the same stuff.
Yeah, that's actually, That is a good plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly I am American.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah, just casually switching accents.
Yeah, I guess I'm stuck with Danish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rip in pieces. Rip in peace.
Rip in peace. But one segment that we will have in every show is a good old icebreaker. What have we all been playing recently? Because that's a topic that keeps on giving.
That is true. So, who is gonna go first?
I'm gonna ask Krakka first. What have you been doing?
Okay. Well, most recently I got to play with the alpha for Dead Cells, and I really enjoyed that. Which, those of you who are not familiar with it, is they kind of coined it as a Roguevania, but it's basically a Metroidvania and a roguelike combined. And right now it's super early, but it looks beautiful and it plays really well for an alpha anyway. Like, I don't think I can remember any bugs, unless there's bugs in like the mathematical part of it where you're calculating damage and stuff like that, but you don't see them doing math on the front of the screen, so you wouldn't know what what is properly represented by those formulas, stuff like that. But as far as like everything else, it looks great. I mean, you're basically like this cluster of like undead cells or something, and you just jump into a body, and it's like, oh hey, I'm actually a zombie now, and then you just grab stuff and you're trying to get through this castle, but I guess the castle somehow brings things alive and it changes, kind of like I know Dracula's castle in some of the older Castlevania games didn't change constantly, but it had like numerous different forms, and the NPCs would always say something like, oh yeah, Dracula's castle is always shifting and changing, because that's how Dracula likes his places to be really confusing. So but yeah, it's pretty dang cool. But other than that, I've just been playing a lot of Phoenix Wright as well, revisiting that series, because I can't resist revisiting that series, as I haven't played through in a long time, and I absolutely love the
I haven't
series,
played it for years.
Oh, that's right, you stopped by for a little bit.
Yeah. I woke up and saw you still streaming.
Yeah, I might have accidentally streamed 9 hours of Phoenix Wright almost, so that kind of did happen.
Only Phoenix for 9 hours.
Only Phoenix Wright for 9 hours. Nothing to it.
Wow. Wow, Krakka.
My voice is still a little from that, because
One other fact about Krakka is that he streams for way too long.
Yep, wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. My streams accidentally become way longer than they should be. It's kind of a problem.
What's your record?
My record so far is 36 hours.
Jesus.
Oh boy.
That's my record.
Oh boy.
I remember that one. I don't know how you survived it.
I might try for 48 for extra life this year, maybe, but we'll see if Taku will let me pull that one off. She was really resilient about 36, so
Don't die, man.
yeah, I don't want to be somebody who dies on stream. That would
And
be kind
Wild
of
Pupper
awkward.
appeared.
Yeah, I heard that. Hi, Papa.
Fun fact, I'm also a mother of puppies.
Those are what I've
That
been
is
playing outside of my usual, anyway.
So you say Dead Cells is still in alpha?
Yeah, it's still in an alpha. It's supposed to be up on Steam for early access, like on the from Greenlight, and I think a couple days from now.
Ah, cool. So you got exclusive early access.
Yeah. They gave me a
Fancy.
key to promote it, so I was like, okay. I mean, I'm people I know can be finicky about. Well, okay, no, I should take that back. Most people don't give a fuck about how many game keys they get, and they'll just take them all and do 100 videos. Nobody cares. But like for me, like I'm really picky, and I will not take keys for games that I won't touch. So
Nice.
That's a good quality.
I've probably gotten like 20 different keys from Keymailer.
Oh,
and
wow,
I've probably
really?
I've only taken like maybe 2 or 3 out of that bunch, because they're just games that I wouldn't play or didn't want to mess with or stuff like that. They just like I will more than happy to promote stuff that I like, but stuff that I don't want to play or I don't think I have an interest in, I just say no. They can send it to somebody else. It's fine.
Right. But it's interesting that you're saying that it doesn't feel like an alpha.
No, it doesn't. It's very polished for an alpha by far.
I feel like there's like 2 kinds of early access games you can have. You can have one where it's just basically a demo, where it's so close to a finished product that it's just a marketing tool, really. And then there's the other one where it's very, very bare bones and just stuff adds to it over a long period of time.
Yeah, and I've had a taste of both of those. This I definitely say is pretty much like a demo version, but I've played bare bones ones, and it's a little awkward sometimes because it's a lot of things are broken. You don't know what's going on. There's no tutorial. You're just kind of messing around and kind of hoping for the best.
What other early access games have you played before?
I'm trying to remember. I've only played a few. I think I played Skullgirls early access, and that was a lot like a demo.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I was one of the ones that backed that, I think on Indiegogo, I think it was. I don't think I did Kickstarter for that one.
Nice.
And then I think I did one more. I haven't done too many because usually I'm always a little leery about early access games. I want to see. I think Unturned maybe was one for a while, but that was like really, really bare bones. And there was another game that somebody gifted me that was pretty bare bones that I can't remember right now either.
I think Unturned is free.
Yeah, it is free.
Early access free. But Skullgirls is a few years ago it came out.
Yeah, it's been a couple years. It's been its full iteration for a while now, but it was a couple years back, 2 or 3, I think.
I hear it's a pretty intense fighting game.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's a weird kind of cross between like kind of modern cartoon / old school cartoon / kind of anime styles and stuff like that. It's a very interesting mix of characters and stuff like that. But as far as like an actual fighting game outside the art and stuff like that, the way it operates is pretty good though. Like I think that's probably one of the most important things about fighting games is that you have to have the mechanics and stuff like really, really finely tuned, or people will lose it.
Absolutely. Looks can be deceiving with that one. It's cute anime girls, but very tough fighting game.
Yeah, big time.
How are you enjoying Phoenix? Again.
Oh, I'm enjoying it way too much. Probably way too much. I mean, I give them all goofy voices and stuff too, which kind of makes my voice dead near the end of time. But I always loved going through them and kind of imagining how these guys sounded like, and they give their characters like a lot of a lot of attitude and depth for a text-based game anyway. With absolutely no voices.
It's basically a visual novel.
Yeah, it is with like courtroom parts and escapades and stuff like that. Because there really isn't too much mini games in it, other than like in the second game, you have to break locks on people's minds and stuff like that with evidence. They added that little gimmick to it, and then later in the series with Apollo Justice, they added nervous ticks and stuff like that you had to find.
Ah, interesting. I never played Apollo
That's cool.
Justice.
Yeah, they added little things to try to make it a little more interesting, because the investigation phases can sometimes get really drawn out and kind of boring because you're just talking to people and looking around and talking to people, looking around. And also, earlier in the series, it was hard to not get bored on those parts too, because sometimes you get lost if you didn't talk or present the right thing. And later in the series, they fixed that with like a checklist you had to go through before you move on to the next area, so you knew exactly what you had to do and wouldn't get lost and going in circles.
That's cool.
And bored out of your mind.
Yeah.
So they've really advanced it over the years from when it started from where it is now. I mean, of course, now it's got like super modern graphics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, other than that.
It's quite interesting that it started off as a Game Boy Advance game.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that when I picked up the DS game that it originally was for GBA. I mean, it's definitely plausible because the way the controls work and stuff. It's just a few buttons here and there.
Yeah, you don't really need to use a stylus.
Yeah, you don't. It just makes it more interesting, I suppose.
But picking up the games again after such a long time, do you ever fear that you can remember the solution going into it again?
I mean, sometimes I kind of do. Generally, I forget most of it, but there are bits and pieces that will come back, and especially the more memorable and the way more interesting cases, like I remember more of them, but like I still enjoy the heck out of it. Especially the really exciting cases, you get really emotionally involved in it. Especially like there was one of the cases in the first game, which I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but I think it's like the third or fourth case. You're dealing with like a major character in the series, and like when I was like going through the courtroom dialogue, I was getting really excited. I started like screaming and ton stream, and unfortunately I lost that recording because it was like over 12 hours or something like that. I got really passionate about that one, and it was like a full like 12-hour stint or something just doing that, and I was so tired and I was screaming, shaking, all kinds of stuff. It was amazing. But
Sleep.
But like, even if I still remember some things, it still manages to suck me into it because it's just so good.
I remember the last case from the second game.
Oh, I just got to that last night. That's what I was finishing off, was the third case last night.
Oh man, I remember playing through that the first time. That is such an intense case.
It is, yeah.
And
that's like
so
arguably one of the best cases. Yes, arguably one of the best cases in the series.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely one of the longest too, because of all the crazy stuff that goes on in that case. Oh my lord, I'm probably gonna have to split that one up. If I do that in one sitting, I'm gonna end up dead, or my voice is gonna end up dead.
Split it up also for the sake of your audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a real kicker. That's a good one.
Yeah. The second one was kind of like not quite as good as the first and third games, but it still has that case that goes for it. So it's really that case makes the second game pretty dang good. Just that one case.
Absolutely. No arguing there. Have you played the new ones?
Yeah, I've played the new ones. Like, they're sometimes not quite as intense as the old ones were, but they still have, good cases. It's still, the same characters or similar characters and new characters and different areas, and they try to throw in different aspects for new stuff. Like the new one, which is Spirit of Justice, adds in this girl who can see the victim's last like 10 or 15 seconds before he died. So
cool.
it's like supposedly they're able to pinpoint exactly who's guilty, but usually in that last 10 or 15 seconds, some of it is either fabricated or something is off or something. Like I can't remember specifically some things, but usually there was always something off about that thing, and you'd have to try to prove that something is not what it seems to be in the vision and all this stuff. So they added some really interesting stuff. Like I said, they've tried to make it way more interesting. And then I think the one that had the most interesting mechanics was probably Dual Destinies, which is like the one right before that one, and that's because they bringing back mechanics for Apollo, which is the nervous tick, and then they bring back the locks from the second game, and then they also add a new mechanic from a new character. Like each character has their own gimmick in that game as you play through different defense attorneys, so it's fun how you get to change it around. I think the last case you get to use like all three and plus some little other stuff too. So it's
cool.
If you like the gimmicks, then that game is pretty much gimmick heaven for that. It keeps you interested for sure.
Nice. I really need to pick that one up.
Yeah, they're pretty much worth it. I mean, they're all on iOS now. If you have an iOS device, or if you have a 3DS that's on all of them are on the DS store. And I think they released some of them to Android. I don't know if they released the original trilogy to the Android yet, but I know Apollo and I think Dual Destinies is on Android, I think.
Nice.
Just not sure. Thankfully.
Did you hear about that Phoenix Wright-esque game that was set in a Sherlock Holmes setting?
Sherlock Holmes setting.
I haven't heard of that, personally.
I don't blame you, because it's only released in Japan.
Oh, do you mean like it was called like the Great Attorney or something like that? Or is it something different?
Perhaps. I
I know they made another Ace Attorney style of game that was more set in like super traditional old school Japan that they probably will never bring over here because it's too cultural, I guess, for them to try to translate it. But I mean, who cares,
but this
honestly.
one involves Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay,
well.
that I have not heard of.
And
I haven't heard of it either.
I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh, it looks so good, and they're not gonna localize it. So sad.
That's really sad. Yeah, they took a big gamble when they first brought Phoenix Wright over here, and it didn't even really sell terribly well for the first two games, but it started picking up steam, I think, right after the second game, and it started selling more. I'm glad that it actually sold over here, because it's such a fantastic series.
It's so good. Yeah, I need to play those again. Can't remember much. It's been that long. So, what have you been playing, Icewire?
Well, recently I've been playing Outlast 2.
Ooh,
Which
yeah.
is an experience in itself. I mean, it's what you'd expect from an Outlast game. It's pretty creepy, to say the least.
Yeah, I tried to...
Creepy is a very, very big understatement, actually.
I am... When I say I am trying to watch a Let's Play, take that literally. Because I watch a few minutes and I'm like, oh god, this makes me feel uncomfortable. So I am slowly working my way through watching it, so I can't imagine how I would be playing it.
Yeah, I mean, I played the demo when it originally came out, and that was creepy in itself, but the creepy part with the full release is that a wee teeny little like detail, spoiler-wise, is that after you get past the dead baby pit, that's a very long story.
Go on.
In the demo, there's a well right after that, and then, but in the full release, everything is completely new territory, and it is terrifying
right.
because you don't know what's going to come after that. So, in this sense, and I'm not a big fan of horror. Like, typically, I do not like horror games at all, but I really do like Outlast, and I'm finding this one really interesting so far.
That's good. So did you start playing horror games because of your channel, or just morbid curiosity?
A bit of both, I'd say. Both took one to give it a little bit of variety, so not just playing the same sort of like Fallout 4 sort of style games.
Oh yeah.
Because I had a Fallout 4 series that went on for a very long time. And that was kind of like my baby series. But also because of morbid curiosity, because I have seen like snippets of like playthroughs here and there, and they've always like creeped me out. So I guess it's a little bit of morbid curiosity about how I would do playing a game like that. So I picked up the first Outlast. I still haven't touched Whistleblower, but I picked up Outlast and streamed that. And it was absolutely terrifying.
Yep.
But I know some people are not like, I know they don't like the premise of the original Outlast or like the setting or whatever, but what I can say is that Outlast 2, the setting, while like, you know, both games are still completely creepy, but the setting is completely different, as is the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see where they're coming from, because the setting of the first Outlast, or at least the beginning, was like, you're a journalist and you decide to come and investigate this mental hospital in the middle of the night. It's a bit, okay, well, come on.
Always
Really?
a great idea.
Yeah. Because you're just so damn interested in what's going on here. You can't wait till tomorrow.
What could possibly go wrong, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, dead of night, abandoned mental hospital. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean,
No.
one thing that is the same is that in Outlast 2, your wife is a journalist and you're the cameraman. That's the one thing that's like, you know, sort of similar, but not quite, because I don't know.
But you're still using like a camera to light in the dark, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a game mechanic that's still like carried over from the first game and the DLC. Because without it, you are just completely screwed.
Yeah.
Like,
I
tried to go through one area without using the camera just to preserve batteries, and it was just pitch black, and I could not see anything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh God, no, I need to keep this on forever. But that's the thing, like, if you keep it on forever, it's going to run out of batteries faster. So it's kind of like you're at an impasse. You have to be very careful with how long you use the camera for in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, the resource management aspect of those games, those horror games where you can't fight back, is much bigger.
Yeah, and I am absolutely terrible at resource management. I mean, in any type of game, I go through ammo really quickly. I like use up all my health stuff too soon, and then when it comes to a big thing, I am completely screwed. So when it comes to battery usage in this game, I just chug through them, and it's so bad. But it's just like you're in such a scary setting, so it's like you want to be able to see what's coming. So it's like, oh God, okay, I don't need to put in the battery now, but I'm going to do it anyway, just out of a sense of security. And then you run out even quicker next time, and it's not a fun time.
No.
It's not a fun time. Resource management, I am terrible at.
Sounds very intense.
Yeah, the game itself is pretty intense. I mean, storyline-wise, compared to the first game, it is just a whole bunch of stuff is going on. Like, I'm saying this without spoilers or anything, but a whole bunch of stuff is going on, and it just leaves you with a sense of like, what the hell is happening? Because like, just a whole bunch of things happen, and it just leaves you like really mind fucked, to say the least.
Even to a bigger degree than Resident Evil 7, I feel. That's another great game.
I Actually,
Yeah.
I haven't actually really seen any of like the previous Resident Evil games, but I have seen Resident Evil 7. And that looks interesting.
I watched a whole
Feels-
Let's Play of it.
Yeah,
I
if you
did
liked
that as well.
Outlast 2, you'll probably like RE7 because it seems like they're in somewhat of a similar vein, at least as far as like country, out in the middle of nowhere type of feeling
Yeah,
places.
actually.
The only difference is that you can fight back.
Yeah, and that's a big one.
Well, you kind of
Whereas,
need to. You kind of need to fight back. in this
Yeah.
one.
Especially with all like the crazy people trying to kill you and other things.
Hmm.
And Resident Evil 7 too is like such a far different from the other Resident Evil games too. It's
Absolutely.
kind of
Yeah.
but
But you know
it's
what?
different in a good way.
It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the series really needed that.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I've pretty much just been playing Outlast 2 as well as a bit of Night in the Woods, which is a really, really
yeah.
good game.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that game. I really need to pick it up one day.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I mean, if you've played the game Oxenfree, which came out, I think, last year, I think. But if you like games like that, where it's very like story-driven and dialogue-driven, you definitely like Night in the Woods, because it is such a good game. I didn't expect to like it as much as I do, but damn, it's so good. It's so
It
good.
kind of
There's like
reminds
so many.
me of like a point-and-click adventure with mini games randomly thrown in. For
Yeah,
fun.
it
Ah.
is. I think what makes it good for me is the dialogue. I mean, when I do, because I'm doing a series on it, I try to like give them voices and stuff. And just the range of dialogue is just really, really well done. Like the main character May, like the things that she says are a lot of things that I would say. So
Yeah, here it's
Just,
very
like,
relatable.
yeah, it's so damn relatable. I really like it. Just like the train of thought that she has, and like just the conversations that go on. It's really well done, and I like that.
We are the target audience, definitely. Yeah, I played.
Hashtag gotta make the games relatable.
Exactly. They have like two shorter free games on itch.io. That's in the same style and atmosphere as Night in the Woods. And I played both of those.
I think Night in the Woods originally started off on there. I
I
remember
so
seeing it
too.
on there ages ago. It was like still in beta. Yeah, I think it was still in beta, and I remember seeing it on there. But I just went at the time I was just like, and then just kept scrolling.
Was it a Kickstarter, perhaps?
It might have been. I can't quite remember,
Don't
but I
think it
I-
was.
do remember seeing it on itch.io. I do remember seeing it there at one point.
On what?
Is that how you say the website? Itch.io?
Yeah, itch.io.
Oh, itchy. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you're itchy or something, and I got a little confused.
My accent. that
Nights in the
happens.
Woods
That happens.
was actually a Kickstarter.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was. Really? Wow.
So that's what I thought. They might have put a demo up on itch.io, and then
Yeah, that would make sense, actually.
they asked for $50,000. They got 209, so that's pretty good.
Shit.
Yeah, they're probably profitable off this game too. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of attention.
And it's well deserved, too, because, like, I don't know. I mean, I'll probably just, like, hammer this out for the rest of eternity, but it really is a good game. It's well done. If I like something, I'll just, like, drum that out, like, it's a really good game, guys.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something I read, and I'd like to hear your opinion whether or not this applies to Night in the Woods.
Okay.
But I read an article on a site. I can't remember what site it was. But it was the top 5 games that will give you an existential crisis.
Yeah.
And Night in the Woods was
Yeah.
number 1.
Oh my god.
Yes, that is true. Because, like, without spoiling anything, the character's going through motions of, like, she doesn't know what exactly she's doing in life or, you know, why she is where she is or done what she's done. And I just feel it, man. I feel it so much.
Yeah.
There's also, like, hints of, like, in dialogue of, like, her saying that, oh, my ears look weird and I have this stupid bit of fur on my head. And it's just like, oh, man, is this me? Is this me?
Oh, man.
Oh, God, it's me. I feel this. This was me in, like, high school up until this day.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, it does give you a bit of, like, an existential crisis, I will admit.
Do you have any idea how far you are into that game yet?
I think I finished the 3rd chapter. I think it goes by chapters.
Oh, cool.
Because it's like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, that kind of thing. But it's not like Telltale style. It's just like you complete story segments along the way. And I think I finished the 3rd one.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think I'm on number 4 right now. But it's yeah, once again, it is really good.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining.
Awesome. There is one other game you have been played recently, and I know this because I subscribed to your channel. And since we haven't talked about that last time we talked in private, I just really want to hear how you feel about Mass Effect Andromeda. Because I haven't played it yet, and I'm a huge Mass Effect fan.
Right. Well, for those who don't know, I didn't make a series on it. I did make a compilation of all the bugs.
I saw that one.
In a very memey, terrible fashion. It was basically just like a joke thing because I really, really wanted to make a crack style video.
Yeah.
But Mass Effect Andromeda, well, it has improved a lot since the 1.05 patch. Before that, there was definitely a lot of bits that they needed to work on, I will admit, like facial expressions and, you know, some like
my face
bugs
is
here
tired.
and there. Yeah, my face.
Dear God.
Yeah, I remember that meme.
I think the worst one that I saw was there is like in one cutscene, this guy is leaning over on the couch and he keeps leaning into the couch. That was amazing.
I didn't have that glitch, but
Oh God.
Minor community spoiler alert. There is a scene where you're talking to 2 of your squad mates. One of them is shirtless, the other is naked, like butt naked. And there is a clone of the naked character inside himself. That happened, and I regret to this day that I did not record that. And it was just so weird because it was like that arm stretched like character model inside this naked alien, and I encountered a lot of like duplicate bugs. So while I was talking to like squad mates like Drac or whatever, there'd be a duplicate inside of himself, and I'd have options to talk to both. I could talk to both versions of him.
Oh my
Oh
God.
And so yeah, that happened. But bugs aside, obviously they did need to work on like a couple of dialogue and like romance story lines. I will admit they definitely need to work on that, like, considering the gay romance options are absolutely abysmal. Well, like, not so much the options, but more the representation of them. But that aside, it's actually a good game, I will admit. I liked it a lot.
That's good.
I mean, with Commander Shepard, I mean, they were an absolute badass from the beginning.
Absolutely.
But with Ryder, I mean, I kind of like the fact that they're sort of this rookie that has no idea what they're getting themselves into. I actually kind of like that aspect. And I found, because I played a Sarah Ryder, a lot of her dialogue, I found it quite relatable.
Cool.
So, bugs duplicates and stuff aside, it's actually a pretty good game.
Yeah, here I mean, obviously it got a lot of bashing in the beginning when it was released. But my general impression is that after that it's like, okay, it got its fair share of bashing, but underneath all that, it's actually a pretty solid game.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously the bashing is well deserved. I mean, even though I'd be sad that I wouldn't get to play it, they could have, just what's the word? Released it at a later date, and just worked out those little teeny final bugs. But
that probably would have been a wise idea.
yeah, because compared to what they've done so far in the 1.5 patch, I mean, they've added different animations and stuff, especially to the whole my face is tired part. I mean, she actually shows emotion, simple emotion. I mean, I compare quality-wise Andromeda to Dragon Age Inquisition a lot, and even though that's an older game now, they got a lot of stuff right, especially with the animations and stuff. So seeing the whole my face is tired and the duplicates inside naked aliens, that was a bit disconcerting. But since the recent patch, they have sort of hashed out some of the big game breaking things.
That's what they should.
And some gameplay aspects are actually really good. I mean, there is a option on one of the planets, actually a couple of the planets, to fight this really, really giant sort of ancient technology sort of alien species called
Reapers?
An architect.
Oh, okay.
No, there are no Reapers, actually. Actually, you don't... Yeah, there are no Reapers. But there is these things called architects.
I guess they dismissed that claim. Hey, reference.
Well, I can't say anything because spoilers.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But the architects are so fun to fight. They are ginormous, and they summon more minions to fight you, and you gotta be really careful with how you position yourself because it's so fast paced. And I found that really fun. I enjoy the combat more in Andromeda than I did in the original trilogy. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice. That's good. Because
it's just
I'm playing.
There's more options.
Go on.
There's more options, and it's just you have more room to maneuver around and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And
because
and I do the biotic ability to pick an enemy up and then throw them at another enemy. I found that really fun.
Yeah.
That was so satisfying. To send them fly off into another enemy. It was satisfying.
Because the thing about the original trilogy was that the combat was basically fought in corridors.
Yeah.
But in Andromeda, it's more open world based in the combat too, right?
Yes, that's true. I mean, with the architect fight, that's outdoors. So there's a lot of places to maneuver around and use his jetpacks to jump up and hover in the air and shoot people for a bit, and then you dash to the next cover. I mean, there are corridors, obviously, still, because Mass Effect, but
of course,
there is a lot more variety in areas and where combat takes place. So yeah, it's a lot more open world.
Nice. I need to pick that up someday.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. I mean, once you get past all the niggly bits.
I myself will probably wait till the next one comes out. So I'm kind of waiting to see if they're gonna have a stronger character or not, because I feel compared to Shepard, Ryder's a bit weaker in that department.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, with Ryder compared to Shepard, Ryder is very inexperienced. I mean, they get the role that they do unexpected and they have no idea what to do. And although over time you see them like come into their own, it's like a coming of age story for Ryder,
Much like
which
Night
I do
in the
like.
Woods, I guess.
Yeah, in a sense.
But from what I've been reading, because I needed to see and read what happened here, because I mean, I know BioWare games can be a bit buggy. I guess I haven't said too much when I say that. So from what I've been reading, Andromeda was developed by a new division of BioWare that hadn't made a game before.
Really?
And large parts of the team were Mass Effect fans.
I actually didn't know that.
So when I heard part of an interview with one of the lead directors for Andromeda, and he said that the new team of game designers that they had brought along to develop this game, they didn't know that they were Mass Effect fans when they hired them, but they all, a large chunk of them at least, had played Mass Effect and were like, I want to develop the next Mass Effect. So
That's interesting.
so there's a lot of the development team who has come in on the team with their own agenda of what makes a Mass Effect game a Mass Effect game. Which maybe might explain why some of the stuff in Andromeda is all over the place.
Yeah, that might definitely account for it.
I do know that some of the writers that worked on the original trilogy, or just like some of like the OG writers, they're no longer working at BioWare.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because I know a few of them left, kind of recently, but not too recent. But yeah, they have left. A few of them.
I guess that would make sense, because I feel like some things had changed and gotten better, and the one thing that kind of felt like a step back to me was how they did the planetary travel and stuff, because I actually really liked how they did it in Mass Effect 3, where you could fly around and encounter stuff, and you had gas and whatnot, and they went back and did it just kind of like a... I don't know what the word for it would be, but basically you just kind of can just look at planets and be like, ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's about it. That's like all you can do.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Oh yeah, do they still have the resource management of scanning planets and probing them?
Yes, you can probe planets, but usually you won't know that you're going to get something on a planet until Suvi, who's kind of like your she's one of like the navigators, I guess, and on the Tempest, she'll say, you know, like, oh, I found something that might be interesting, and then you get like a little sort of detector to which planet it is, and then, you know, you go in and you have a look and then you scan around, and that's usually how the probing system works.
Oh, okay.
And Andromeda. So it's there, but it's not as like, oh, you're definitely going to find something on at least, you know, every planet.
Yeah, I guess you could do that in the earlier Mass Effect games. You could just scan through the whole galaxy if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I guess in Andromeda that you have to wait for a message or something before you can scan anything.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. That makes more sense.
So that is pretty much what I have been playing lately.
Nice.
So,
sounds good.
A wide variety.
Yep. I have also been playing some weird games lately.
Define weird. It's not like honeycam weird, is it?
No, oh god, no. Dear god, no. Absolutely not. A game I've been playing a lot, but not in a while, now is Breath of the Wild.
Oh,
Yeah,
how is that?
it's great. I love that game so much. It's definitely I guess it's not a new take on Zelda because it's very inspired by the first Zelda. But kind of the Zelda formula that had been going since Ocarina of Time, that they have been using in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess and all that. They're kind of throwing that away for a more open-ended experience, which
Okay.
is great.
Yeah, definitely.
There's definitely a huge focus on open world here and some survival elements too. I mean, where in the old games you could just like slash through grass to get hearts and rubies and whatnot, you can't do that here. Not so ever. So whenever you're hurt, and if you need to regain some health, you need to create some food or
I think I've
rest.
seen like teeny bits of gameplay of that particular mechanic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bit of a change.
Not sure if I like the cooking aspect. It would be nice to have a cookbook at least, so you know what to create when you need something. Because, I mean, this is a huge world. I think it's like twice as large as Skyrim.
Gee.
Jeez, really?
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing,
Wow.
and it definitely feels like it. I mean, the world is divided into 12 segments, maybe, all with their own different environments. Some of them are hazardous, so you need like special buffs to be able to survive in there. For instance, the Gerudo Desert is very hot, so you need to eat something or make some elixirs that will cool you down, because otherwise, as long as you're in there, you will lose health.
I think I remember, this is like a long time ago, but I think I remember playing a game that had a very, very similar mechanic to that.
Oh yeah?
Like you had to have, it was a very, very terrible game. So just a disclaimer, it was a game I played when I was a wee tot. It was the Dog Island collection game.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I don't know why, but I'm remembering that they had a very similar mechanic to that. Like you could get, you could suffer from the elements in that game.
Oh, okay.
Which is
Yeah.
kind of morbid considering it was about puppies.
Let's just say that Nintendo got inspiration from Dog Island.
Oh gee.
Let's just make that a thing.
Headcanon.
But other than that, sure, there's a lot of references to older Zelda games. I mean, the Korok people, the small creatures that were in Wind Waker around the Deku Tree. They are in Breath of the Wild too. As
Oh, the little sprite
yeah,
things?
absolutely.
Those things are cool.
They're so cute.
Yeah, they are.
And I mean, the Wind Waker is one of my absolute favorite games. So just seeing them again in a new game, I'm like, oh yay! Woo! Wind Waker. But they're kind of hidden in this game. As when you travel around the world and you see an anomaly of some sort. For instance, in Kakariko Village, which of course makes a return in this game. It seems to make a return in every other Zelda game. But there's like a row with 5 balls. 4 of them have apples in them. So you're like, oh, okay, I want to place an apple in this one. Then a jingle plays and poof, a Korok appears and gives you a Korok seed. So that's kind of
That's
what
cool.
they are doing in this game. Then when you find a very, very big one with 2 maracas, yes, the instrument, for some reason, when you give him enough Korok seeds, he can expand your inventory. Because you're only limited to a certain amount of of weapons and shields and bows. And that's another thing that this game has. Disposable weapons. They're very disposable. I mean, they break so easy. Which is also why, I mean, one of the criticisms the game has got is that there's not that big of a variety in villains or enemies. And I think that's because they went with this whole disposable weapons thing. So all the enemies need to carry weapons that you can then get and use in combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But I mean, I got the Master Sword now, and it doesn't seem to break. So that's perfect.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Better not break.
Yeah, or else it wouldn't be so much of a Master Sword, would it?
The death of evil's bane is here. Whoops, it broke.
Just like with one hit, and it just breaks, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go now.
Oh, the Lost Woods also makes a return, and I really, really love that part. Absolutely.
Getting lost?
Yeah, I got lost in the Lost Woods. But it's so atmospheric. So cool.
It sounds really awesome. I would really like to pick it up someday, but until I get a Nintendo Switch, I will be waiting on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing it on my Wii U, and it works just fine.
Oh, that's right. They released it
Oh.
for Wii U. I forgot about that.
Neat.
Yep.
I thought it was just for the Switch. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, a few years ago, Nintendo was like, yo, it's gonna take some time before we're ready with the new Zelda, so here is Wind Waker HD. And then they were like, okay, how about Twilight Princess HD? So, so if they came to a point where they were like, hey, look, new console, and there's a new Zelda game. Sorry, Wii U, you're not getting it. I feel like people would be pissed off, like, extremely.
Yeah, that would alienate a lot of people, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely would.
So they also released it on the Wii U, but it doesn't really use the touch screen on the controller at all. They took that part out for the Wii U version, but I guess they can't really emulate that on the Switch. Because there can only be one display at a time on the Switch.
I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Yeah, it does.
But yeah, Breath of the Wild is awesome. You can spend a lot of time in it just exploring, which I have.
But that's the fun with open world games, is, you know, being able to go out and explore all the things, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's always fun to do.
Mm.
Because you just get, like, completely just invested in just the exploring aspect, not accent. That's a completely different thing.
But another interesting thing with this Zelda is there's no dungeons as we know them. I mean, there are 4 key dungeons, you could say, you have to go through, but they're very small. And it's not the same formula, like you enter a dungeon and you beat a mini boss and ooh, new item, and then you learn how to use that item and then defeat an end boss with that item. That's not a thing here. It's basically just a few puzzles you have to beat, and then there's a final boss of that dungeon, and then you're good.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm okay with that, really, because I mean a lot of the challenge lies in just getting to that point. So I guess I don't really need
that's
that
true.
more than that. Other than that, there's a lot of shrines spread throughout the whole world, which also works as like standard dungeon challenges, you could say. And when you beat that, you get a can't even remember what it's called, but it's like a spirit shard or whatever. I can't even remember what it's called. But when you get 4 of those, you can buy 1 upgrade for your health or for your stamina.
That's cool, actually. That's a cool thing, I reckon.
So I spend most of the time actually just building up my character, just looking for shrines. But you can only find the shrines by exploring, really. So you have a reason to explore and not just do it for the fun of it, which you can also do. But you can really find some cool stuff if you just walk around on your own.
I feel like that's probably what makes like open world RPGs really cool. Because like in The Witcher 3, there are like places of power, and that's very. It sounds a little similar to what you're describing with these shrines, because like you really gotta like wander around and sort of like find where they are and how to get to them.
Yeah, and each section of the map has a tower you have to climb before you can reveal that section of the map. Very Ubisoft-like.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say that sounds very similar to. Oh, it sounds like exactly the same as like Far Cry.
Yeah.
Because I remember Far Cry 3.
Or Assassin's Creed.
That was the thing there. Yeah, and Assassin's Creed 2. I forgot about that. I forgot about that franchise for a moment.
Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed is a thing. Who knew? They've only have 20 games.
It's been kind of forgettable these days, let's be honest.
Well, they had a movie.
Yeah.
Did no one ever watch that?
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, I didn't personally.
I did not either. But yes, Breath of the Wild, super cool, super good game. And this week, for some reason, I just had an impulse, I could say, like I should get Disney Infinity. So I did, second hand, super cheap.
And was good.
It's definitely made for kids, that's for sure. But it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's always the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a bad game. I mean, it's dead now. The online platform is closed, and they're not making more figures or more games or anything. Meaning that everything I buy for the game, like the figurines and whatnot, will be super cheap. So that's good.
That's always a plus.
Yeah. But there's a lot of sandbox stuff you can do. Like you can walk around and find hidden treasures that gives you items that you can use to create your own levels of sorts. Landscapes, at least, you can walk around in. You have a house you can decorate, all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
And when you buy a playset, usually consists of 2 figurines and 1 adventure thing. Then there's a whole mission story thing you can play in that universe. For instance, with my set came a Star Wars one that I haven't played yet. But they also released one with Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm definitely gonna get that. That sounds fun.
Guardians of the Galaxy? Huh, that's random, but cool.
Yeah, well, it's Disney Infinity, and Disney owns Marvel. So yeah, they also made a large push with just Marvel figurines in general. So there's also like Spider-Man and the Avengers as a whole and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense considering, like, you know, it's getting closer to Infinity Wars being released.
Yeah. So yeah, I haven't played too much of that, but what I've been playing so far is it's a nice game to relax to, really. If you just want to play something, might as well play that. You can do whatever you want in it.
Awesome.
And not that much of a challenge compared to Breath of the Wild, for instance. So yeah, that's what I've been playing outside of the occasional mobile game.
seems like we play like a wide variety of we play very different games from each other, I feel.
Yeah.
So like I feel like you guys are more towards like the old school kind of, I guess, roguelikes, I guess. Or like, you know,
Well, definitely
Zelda related things. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely up Krakka's alley. But I think that's another cool thing is like we have a very different. We all like different like types of games. I mean, me personally, I'm more into like typical mainstream RPGs because I've always been a sucker for those.
Yeah. I seem to be attracted to games that have a rich story and unique art style. And from what I gather, Krakka is more into roguelikes and like extremely difficult games.
Yeah, that's kind of more what I've gotten into now. Because I did play some of the RPG Maker games before, and they're actually really good, some of them. Some of them are pretty bad. I would say it's like maybe 60-40, with 40 being the good game ratio to bad game ratio, but they make some good RPG Maker games, but most of the ones that I enjoyed the most were like really scary ones, like
The Witch's House?
Let's see. Witch's House was pretty jump scary. I played Pocket Mirror, which wasn't quite as scary, but it had a really good story. And then I played Eve, which was really good. I liked Eve a lot too. It's all a bunch of good stuff if you look for it anyway. Usually the ones they kind of sell on Steam are kind of just, they're okay. You know, they're not the craziest thing in the world. But I like RPGs, though. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like RPGs. It's just that they're so long.
Yeah.
It's really hard to...
I mean, I've put so many hours into Skyrim and Fallout 4. And I still haven't finished The Witcher 3 till this day. Because it's like over 200 hours long.
I don't think I know anyone who's finished Witcher 3.
It's long.
I'm in like a Facebook group for the game, and there's people that are like, oh, I'm starting up a new game, just finished the game, I'm gonna do like the hardcore deathmatch mode. And it's like, how? I'm still in this one area that I've spent 50 hours in, man. I don't know how you're doing it.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Witcher 3 is something else.
Definitely getting bang for your buck.
Absolutely.
That's true. That's true. It's a bloody good game.
And you can pet the animals.
That is true. That is true.
You can't do that in Breath of the Wild. There's dogs and anything, and you can't do anything with them. You can feed them, but and they can show you stuff, but you can't pet them.
Okay. Not game of the year.
No. Absolutely not. Well, you can't really do that in Skyrim either, and you play that a ton.
That's true. That is very true. I mean, there are like options to have huskies and stuff, and I would love to pet them, but you can't, and that makes me very sad.
Yeah. Alrighty. So let's move on to the next segment of the podcast.
Wait, what about you?
Did you space out or something?
I might have. Oh crap. No. I guess I thought it was mostly Ice talking. Because I heard Ice talking still, so I guess I spaced out. Shoot. Okay. Don't mind me.
I do have one of those voices. It's okay. It all happens. I just have one of those voices where it's easy to zone out too.
God damn it, Krakka. 9 hours streaming.
Yeah, that was my fault. I'm sorry.
All good. To sum it up real quick, I played Breath of the Wild a lot, and recently Disney Infinity.
Oh, Disney Infinity. Okay, that's where I zoned out. Because I remember you talking about Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Disney Infinity, okay, I'm out. I'm out of here.
KrakkaXE has stopped working.
I guess. Alrighty. We have one segment prepared for this podcast, which is going to be a top 3.
Woo!
We have all
Everybody loves this.
We've all done our homework and prepared our own top 3 over the same topic, which is top 3 video game tutorials that were actually fun to play. We have not played every single game out there, so if you in the audience asks, why didn't you pick this game in your list and that kind of stuff, it might be just because we simply haven't played it or haven't heard of it. Likewise, these lists are merely our own opinion and should be treated as such, and this is also our way to give some attention to games that we think deserve praise in a specific area. That said, feel free to share your own top 3 in the comments below of your own favorite video game tutorials that were fun to play. Could be cool to see what you guys think.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's start with Krakka. What's your number 3?
Okay, so my number 3, which I picked this as my number 3 just because, like, I prefer to get a little more emotionally invested in my tutorials, but I appreciate a nice, neat, clean tutorial, and that's why I picked this as my number 3, and I'm going to say Dark Souls. Because Dark Souls tutorial was pretty straightforward. It was just messages on the ground telling you press this button, do that, and it gave you little bits of advice and pat you on the butt and says, there you go. I mean, it's definitely more of a kind of a learn as you go type of game. The tutorial told you everything you needed to know, at least before you went out there.
Yeah.
You know,
So I guess most of the stuff in that game you learn on your own.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it gets you at least, gets you going, and then you start learning the more complicated things. But when you go to the tutorial area, you feel pretty comfortable. And like an example, I think it was maybe even Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls. Looking right in the tutorial area, there's a boss monster comes out that completely destroys you, like right at the very end.
I remember
to let you know what kind of game you're playing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait, what? How am I supposed to be this? This game's stupid. How am I, what is there? And that was always like something weird for me, because typically most games don't teach you how to play the game and then give you something that's almost impossible to beat at the very beginning to let you know that you're going to get your butt kicked. It kind of sets the tone.
That's
so
true.
Absolutely.
That's why, yeah. That's why I picked that as my number 3. Good old Dark Souls.
Nice. Cool. What do you have, Icewire?
My number 3 is actually Undertale.
Hey, I thought that would come.
So, I mean, I did really like the game, even though while I may have noped out of ever finishing it, since I rage quit the Undyne fight. I spent ages trying to beat that, and I just noped out in the end because I was terrible at it. But despite that, I really liked the opening tutorial bit with Toriel guiding you through the ruins. I really liked that because I don't know, it was a pretty like well set out tutorial. I mean, you just sort of got to like explore the ruins, and then you find out little bits as you go, and the little details here and there, and the characters that you meet, like of course Toriel and Napster Blook. I really like that part too.
Napster Blook.
Yeah, I love that guy.
He is the absolute best.
Yeah.
He is my spirit animal. But yeah, I'd say that's probably why I picked Undertale, just because like, I don't know, it's simple, but at the same time, like, there's little teeny weeny details that really make it good. And like just a lot of time and effort put into it, especially with like the little dialogue you can have with like a frog or whatever, or a rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially also the dummy
Yes,
in the beginning
dummy.
there that you can interact with in 5 or 6 different ways. I mean, you can attack it, or you can tell it a joke, and you can also leave. And Toriel will have a reaction to every one of them.
Yeah, I remember that actually. So yeah, that is my number 3.
Cool. Great. I thought Undertale would come there. Because it's pretty damn good. So my number 3 is a game called Rhythm Heaven Fever.
Ooh.
Oh wow, classic.
Yeah. It's also known in the European and Australia regions as Beat the Beat Rhythm Paradise.
Oh god.
I have no
That
idea
sounds
why.
Terrible.
Yeah.
The original is much better.
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked this game up if I didn't know what it was beforehand, because the title doesn't serve it any good.
No, it sounds really well, especially in the European version. I don't know why they changed it like that.
Beat the Beat Rhythm Paradise.
That's just terrible naming.
Oh well. It's created by the guys who made the WarioWare games, which I love, by the way.
Yeah.
Rhythm Heaven is a franchise that consists of a big number of rhythm-based minigames with very simplistic controls, which is for the most part just 2 buttons, 1 or 2, and then you just do it in the rhythm of the music. Every minigame in this game has its own graphical style and small animated intro, truly making them stand out from one another. Furthermore, the quick tutorial you have to play before the game begins is a simplified version of the main minigame itself, pretty much. I mean, it's the same graphics, same environment and all that. And
Okay.
a character from the main minigame, so to speak, will teach you how to play the game in an easy to understand monkey see, monkey do kind of way. So it's like if they do a rhythm, then you just have to copy it. That's how you learn it pretty much. It shows you a rhythmic pattern you have to learn, then you copy it. But the thing is, there's usually more rhythmic pattern than just one. So before it moves on to the next rhythmic pattern you have to learn, you have to perfect 3 to 4 sets of the first rhythm pattern, if that made any sense. Like that, it presents you a rhythm pattern. You have to perfect it 3 or 4 times to the music before you can move on to the next. Really making sure that you actually learn this, because you will need to have learned it to play the main minigame, because there's no user interface whatsoever. That's just you and the music. And then stuff happens on the screen when you press the buttons. It's such a good game. I'm not probably not selling it very well, but it's so good. I love Rhythm Heaven. It's all put together in a very charming, funny, and uplifting graphical environment. And these tutorials are just as fun to play as the main game. So that's why Rhythm Heaven is my number 3. So, Krakka, what's your number 2?
So I guess my number 2, this was a game I actually played a while ago, and then actually kind of recently revisited because my girlfriend just for some reason happened to have the Vita version of it, and I kind of started playing it, and I was like, oh dang, this game's amazing. I remember how good this was, which is going to be Little Big Planet.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
The tutorial in that game is it's very creative as they go through and show you the basic mechanics of the game, but also you have the lovely narrator to kind of narrate the process for you. And it was very memorable because it was funny and it felt kind of cool coming back to it again after finding out my girlfriend had it just on her Vita, because I forgot they made a Vita version and it had been so long since I played it. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, especially since it was more than just a kind of a platforming game. There was little I guess gimmicks, I guess you could call, not in a negative fashion, of course. Gimmicks is meaning they had jetpacks and guns and different little toys you could kind of use to interact with the areas, and it had a multiplayer feature as well, and so it was a neat little tutorial. But of course, the best part was the narration for me.
Yeah, no kidding. That game just makes you go all the way back to your childhood. You feel like a kid again when you play it.
Yeah, it's a really happy feeling kind of game. Like it's so pleasant, even though like you're in a typical platforming game. You will die to random stuff, but it'll be like, you just like pop like a small balloon. It's real pleasant and soothing, even if you're getting your butt kicked quite a few times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess the narration there kind of sold it for me, along with the cool little features along the way, and that is why I chose Little Big Planet as my number 3 or 2. Sorry,
yeah.
2. Can't count.
Nice.
9-hour stream.
Yeah. Or should I say 15? Since you can't count. Okay, Ice, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is actually Fable 2.
Ah.
2 for 2.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember when I played it. So like the beginning of the tutorial is you're playing as like the main character is a little kid, and their older sister, they're trying to get by because they're poor, and just it goes about teaching you how to play in just a really nice like way that makes sense with the story.
Yeah.
So you're trying to like you have to learn how to barter with people. Just you have to get them to give you coin or whatever, and then there's a bit that comes up where you have to save a dog from a bully. So you learn how to use like your slingshot and your little wooden sword. And I don't know, there's just something about it that I really love. I think it's also the dialogue. There's something about the dialogue and the art style of the Fable games that I really loved. And Fable 2 is probably it's probably my favorite Fable game. So, yeah, I guess that plays into it as well. And also, there's a dog.
Of course. There we go.
I'm a sucker for dogs. It scares me. But yeah, I really did enjoy like the gameplay mechanics and just the little basically how they went about with teaching you how to play, especially as like you start off as a kid, which I find that you don't really see that often. The main character starts off as a little kid.
Not anymore, at least.
Nah. I mean, not these days. I mean, the only other example I've seen is Horizon Zero Dawn, but other than that, Fable 2 is the only one I can think of.
Well, I guess
personally.
Fallout 3 counts too.
Oh yeah, I guess that does. Because like you're literally like fresh
Oh
out
yeah,
the womb,
because
I
you're
guess.
born in Fallout 3, aren't you?
Yeah, and then you're
Yeah.
a toddler, and then you're like 10 years old, and then you're grown up.
Crazy.
So yeah, that is my pick for number 2.
Cool. Nice. Okay, my number 2 is a game we all have played called Armello.
Oh yeah.
Hey!
Because Armello is a digital board game with both cards and dice rolls and whatnot, and is by no means easy to pick up if you don't know how to play it. It's crucial that you don't feel left behind when you pick it up the first time, otherwise you'll be looking at a very limited player base overall. And for such a complex game, I think Armello does a stellar job at presenting the game in an interactive tutorial that has its own little story. There's this little helper that follows you along the way. And that helper is also a card in the main game, so you get to see him again. He follows you throughout the tutorial and making the step-by-step lessons quite enjoyable. You get to see the context of all the elements, and you have a much better feel of how to play the game that you otherwise wouldn't have if you just jumped blindly into the game. And for a game where the tutorial is pretty much mandatory, Armello has created a great tutorial that makes learning the game enjoyable and feels less like a chore. So that's why I put that in my number 2.
Nice.
I also agree with that.
I remember after I had played the tutorial, I was like, that was actually pretty good. I mean, I learned everything I should, and it was a pleasant experience overall. And I felt more or less ready to jump into the main game.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good tutorial for that game because board games can tend to be kind of complex, and I'm glad they present it in like a breakdown type of fashion that seemed to work well with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very important part of that game in particular, and they did a good job.
Yeah, 'cause normally I'm always scared to start any type of multiplayer games because I'm always like, oh,
Same.
I better play this by myself and get through the tutorial and play it by myself. But after that, I mean, I went through the tutorial, I'm like, I feel okay playing with other people. I felt pretty educated on how to do things, and there's some finer strategies that it doesn't teach you, but that's your job to figure that one out mostly anyway.
Yeah.
Getting the rot victory, for instance, I still cannot do that.
Same here.
That's hard stuff to do.
I think that's the hardest of all the victories.
Yeah.
Anyway, Krakka, what's your number one?
Alright, so... Dang it. I should have known that I would immediately think of the "We Are Number One" meme as soon as you said that, but... I'm going to try to leave that alone and just let that play in my head for now.
Fun fact, I actually watched that before before this podcast even started.
Oh my
It's
god.
kind of ironic. Yeah, it's kind of ironic.
So my number one pick, which may be a little bit biased, is going to be the Phoenix Wright series.
Okay. Yeah.
It just might be a little bit biased. I really enjoy the tutorials, and they are always very memorable for me because they were always like the very first case in each and every game was the tutorial case, so to speak. And it was always fun how they tried to reinvent the tutorial each time, because in the first game you're new, so it's like, okay, so you're new, so then it has to give you a tutorial, but in the second game you're still like, you're now an important lawyer, so they have to like small spoilers in the first 5 minutes of playing the first game, or the first bit of the second game. Phoenix gets clobbered over the head and has amnesia, so he has to remember how to be a lawyer again in the second game. And then in the third game, I think, you go back in the past and you play as Phoenix's mentor, so it is now in her first case. So you have to learn how to play again as her in the beginning, and then as in Apollo Justice, it's Apollo's new, so that naturally slides in there. And then even in future games, you kind of have new characters introduced that kind of are new at being a defense attorney, so you have to kind of revisit the tutorials. But I thought it was pretty clever how they tried to reinvent it at least a couple times there in the series, and it's always enjoyable because you're facing off against the derpiest prosecutor that's so bad. And,
it's the same guy every time.
Yeah, it's always the same forgettable guy. Then they always make puns with his name, makes jokes, and his hair is always falling off. And it's just super super fun to do a tutorial in that fashion anyway, and you really don't get heavily punished for doing things wrong, and it even gives you silly options. Like in the first game, the judge asks you, all right, what's your name? And Phoenix Wright, of course, on the options, but you could pick the prosecutor's name or your mentor's name, and the judge is just what is wrong with you? Are you nervous? It always gives real funny responses if you pick something goofy.
Yeah, that's a nice degree of humor in those games.
Yeah, there always is. There's lots of good funny stuff in there, but yeah, that's gonna be my number one.
Nice.
Good old Phoenix Wright, gotta love it.
Good old Phoenix. What about you guys?
My number one is probably gonna be Dishonored 2. Actually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so Dishonored 2 is a stealth-based game from Bethesda, and in the tutorial you play as Emily, and pretty much the whole thing is her father, who was the protagonist in the first game, teaching you how to fight and like sneak around and do some, hardcore parkour. And the gameplay was actually really fun because usually with tutorials, they feel, a lot like a chore. So it's like you feel like, oh, can I just, get this over and done with already? But the gameplay made it really fun. And another part that made it good was the interactions Emily had with her dad. So, they had some like really adorable moments here and there, and like Emily being a teeny bit of a smartass.
Cool.
And there's one part where her father Corvo was teaching her how to block and parry blows from enemies, and so there's a gameplay mechanic where you can block someone and then choke them out and knock them out, completely unconscious. And when you do that, and you start choking out your father, and then he just gives you this little pat, like, okay, that's enough. And I found that absolutely adorable.
Cool.
But yeah, that is my number one pick because that was a really fun tutorial. I enjoyed it a lot.
Nice.
Enjoyed choking out your old dad, huh?
As you do. You had it coming.
I still haven't beaten the first one, and I kind of want to play that before the second one.
I would recommend playing the first one, so you know who everyone is.
Yeah.
Or at least who Emily is, at least.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, my number one is a small game called Mini Metro.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I've heard of that before. That's like a little puzzle game, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually is.
But it's like super complex and deep and stuff. On the surface, it's a really simple concept.
It's super simplistic in its design. But
Yeah.
as you get further in, you're like, whoa, okay, there's a lot going on now. But I jumped into this game pretty much blind. I bought it during a Steam summer sale because I knew it was one of the nominees for the grand prize at the Indie Game Festival, and I kind of I was on a streak because I had some of them, and I was like, okay, now I want all of them just for fun. But they're all good games, so there's nothing wasted there. But I can definitely see why this was nominated as one of the best, and especially for its excellence in design. Unlike most games, this game doesn't start with the main menu when you boot it up. You just jump straight into the tutorial. But the game doesn't tell you that either. You're just...
That's weird.
It's very interesting because you're just presented with a circle and a square and an indicator that you have to connect the two using your mouse. And as you do this, you draw a line between the two. And after you have connected them, a very simplistic representation of a train will travel between them. So now you know, okay, I have created a line here between two stations. After that, another shape appears and you do the same thing. And slowly it will throw more and more stuff at you. And before you know it, you've created a metro system. And for a game that is about creating and maintaining a metro system, which by all means is not the most interesting and engaging subject to base your game on, this game presents itself through a tutorial that actually makes this enjoyable. You understand the game's premise immediately and will know its basics in a minute. All done without using any text or speech. You've learned this yourself by interacting with the simplistic symbols and shapes. So that's why Mini Metro is my number one.
That's really interesting.
It was.
I mean, I don't think
I
I've
have
ever heard of a
that
tutorial.
game too. I kind of want to play it now.
I was totally blown away when I played it. It was late evening. It was like, sure, let's boot up Mini Metro and see what it's like. But it was very engaging.
Huh.
I don't think I've heard of a tutorial where there's like no text or speech.
There is none of the sort. I think
That
later
is
on
random.
it tells you that, okay, this is how you... Because at some point you have to pick if you want, like, another train or add a carriage to a train or whatever. Then it shows some text. But in the very
okay.
beginning, there's nothing. And you just learn everything yourself.
That's interesting.
I love that a lot.
Kind of reminds me of The Witness, which kind of also had like a non-tutorial. You just kind of shoved in there, and it's like, okay, figure it out.
There's definitely a charm in those kind of games, I feel.
Yeah, there is.
Like, here you are. Do your thing. I don't know my thing. How do you know? Try it out. And that's how you learn.
Hey, that sounds like a good summary.
Pretty much. So, yes, that was our top 3 video game tutorials that were actually fun to play. Because let's face it, a lot of them are just boring.
They suck.
To say
Yeah.
it bluntly. Yes.
Yeah. Most time you're just like, give me the game already. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah, these games stand out in their own way, I feel.
I agree. I mean,
Mhm.
I feel like we've all, we all did pretty good at picking and, explaining why they're good.
And that pretty much wraps up this first episode of the Misclick Podcast.
Woo!
Hey, we did it,
Yay.
team. Go us.
We did a thing.
Yay. And if you came here through a misclick, I hope this turned out to be a happy little mistake for you. Definitely had a good time. But first, I'd like to hear what you guys have planned for your channels. Anything going on?
I think I am going to be planning out just, sticking with the usual series that I have going with like Night in the Woods and Outlast 2, but I'm going to be doing another informative video in the future based around Injustice 2. So I have that going.
Cool.
As well as a few other little side projects that are like sort of top 10 related. And that's pretty much what I had planned.
Nice. When will your next stream be, Krakka?
My normal schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. That's the days I usually stream. And it's usually around 7 p.m. EST. Or usually around, or somewhere between 7 and 9 EST. It really depends on work and other things. But generally around those time periods. And then I go for like 3 to 4 hours. And I mean, the last month was mostly just, I want to be the guy. But I'm going to start trying to add some more back, because now I actually am not working 70 hours a week at work, and I actually have time to plan maybe some things and do some other things.
More time to accidentally stream for 9 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
12.
Exactly. Or 12, yeah. I can do that too.
Nice. So yeah, I wish I could say what I have coming up on my channel, but I have nothing yet other than this podcast. But when I have something almost ready, I will be sure to let you all know. That's all I can say.
Yay.
So yes, this has been the Misclick Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye!